The scary space monsters. In the vast, dark space, there was a big problem. Scary monsters called void stalkers were making everyone afraid. These monsters looked like huge wolves, but much scarier. They had sharp teeth, long claws, and eyes that glowed in the dark. The void stalkers could even change their color to hide better, like a space chameleon. All the aliens in the galaxy were scared of the void stalkers. These monsters would attack planets, break them, and eat everyone. They were so strong that no one could stop them. Even the biggest alien ships ran away when they saw a void stalker coming. But far away, on a small blue and green planet called Earth, humans didn't know about any of this. They were living their normal lives, watching TV, playing games, and dreaming about meeting friendly aliens one day. One day, a young boy named Tim was looking at the stars with his dad's old telescope. Tim loved space and wanted to be an astronaut when he grew up. As he was watching, he saw something strange. A bright light moved across the sky, too fast to be a plane. "Dad! Dad!" Tim shouted. "I saw something in the sky." Tim's dad came out and looked through the telescope, but he couldn't see anything. "It's probably just a shooting star, Tim," he said with a smile. But Tim knew it wasn't a shooting star. It was too big and too fast. He wondered if it was a spaceship from another planet. The thought made him excited and a little scared. What Tim didn't know was that the light he saw was a small alien ship. It was running away from a void stalker. The alien inside was hurt and scared. Its ship was almost broken, and it needed a place to hide. The alien ship flew past Earth, going deeper into space, but the void stalker was still chasing it. The void stalker was hungry and angry. It wanted to catch the little ship and eat the alien inside. Back on Earth, scientists at a big space station saw something on their computers. They saw the alien ship and the void stalker chasing it, but they didn't know what they were. They thought it might be some space rocks or maybe a comet. Dr. Sarah Chen was working at the space station that night. She was smart and brave, and she loved to study strange things in space. When she saw the two objects on the computer, she knew they weren't just rocks. "Look at how they're moving," she told her friends. "Rocks don't change direction like that. And look how fast they're going." Dr. Chen wanted to learn more. She asked to use the biggest telescope at the station. When she looked through it, she couldn't believe her eyes. She saw the void stalker clearly for the first time. It was huge, bigger than any animal on Earth. Its fur was dark, but it kept changing color as it moved through space. Its eyes were bright red, and its teeth were as long as swords. Dr. Chen was both scared and amazed. She watched as the void stalker caught up to the small alien ship. With one big bite, it ate the whole ship. Dr. Chen gasped. She had just seen something eat a spaceship like it was a small snack. Dr. Chen knew she had to tell someone about what she saw. But who would believe her? Aliens that eat spaceships. It sounded crazy. She decided to keep it a secret for now and do more research. For the next few weeks, Dr. Chen spent all her time looking for more void stalkers. She found more of them, far away in space. She saw them breaking planets and eating alien ships. It was scary, but she couldn't stop watching. Dr. Chen wrote everything down in a secret notebook. She drew pictures of the void stalkers and wrote about how they moved and acted. She was the only human who knew about these scary space monsters. One night, as Dr. Chen was looking through the telescope, she saw something that made her heart stop. A void stalker was coming towards Earth. It was still far away, but it was definitely heading in their direction. Dr. Chen knew she had to warn everyone. But how could she explain about the void stalkers without sounding crazy? She needed proof. She needed a plan. And she needed it fast, before the void stalker reached Earth. As she rushed to tell her boss about the danger, Dr. Chen didn't know that her discovery would change everything. The Earth was about to meet the scariest monsters in the galaxy, and only she knew they were coming. Humans meet aliens. Dr. Sarah Chen couldn't sleep. She knew a scary void stalker was coming to Earth, but nobody would believe her. She needed proof, and fast. One night, as she was looking through her big telescope, she saw something new. A shiny, round spaceship was coming to Earth. It wasn't a void stalker, it looked friendly. The spaceship landed in a big field near Dr. Chen's space station. She jumped in her car and drove there as fast as she could. When she got there, she saw something amazing. Aliens were coming out of the ship. They looked funny, like tall, blue jellyfish with big eyes. They waved their wiggly arms in a friendly way. Dr. Chen's heart was beating fast. She was the first human to meet real aliens. She waved back and said, "Hello, welcome to Earth." The aliens made happy bubble sounds. Then, to Dr. Chen's surprise, one of them spoke in perfect English. "Greetings, human friend," the alien said. "We are the Bubblites. We come in peace." Dr. Chen was so excited she could barely speak. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen," she said. "How do you know our language?" The Bubblite laughed, making a sound like popping bubbles. "We learned from your TV shows. We love friends." More people started to arrive. News reporters, police, and even the army came to see the aliens. Everyone was asking questions and taking pictures. The Bubblites were very friendly. They showed humans their cool space gadgets and told funny jokes. But then their leader, Big Bubble, got serious. "Humans," Big Bubble said, "we're happy to meet you, but we must warn you about a big danger." Dr. Chen's heart sank. She knew what was coming. Big Bubble continued, "There are scary monsters in space called void stalkers. They destroy planets and eat everything. And one is coming this way." Everyone gasped. Dr. Chen stepped forward. "I've seen it too," she said. "I've been trying to warn people, but no one believed me." The Bubblites were surprised. "You've seen a void stalker?" they asked. "How are you still alive?" Dr. Chen explained how she saw the void stalker through her telescope. The Bubblites were impressed. "You humans are braver than we thought," said Big Bubble. "Maybe you can help us fight the void stalkers." The army general stepped up. "Fight them? How? What weapons do we need?" The Bubblites looked sad. "We don't know," they said. "No one has ever beaten a void stalker before. They're too strong, too fast, and too scary." Everyone was quiet. The happy mood from before was gone. Now, everyone was scared. But Dr. Chen had an idea. "What if we don't fight them?" she asked. "What if we try to understand them instead?" The Bubblites looked at her like she was crazy. "Understand them? They're monsters," they said. "Maybe," said Dr. Chen. "But all creatures have a reason for what they do. Maybe if we learn about the void stalkers, we can find a way to stop them without fighting." The Bubblites and humans talked for a long time. Some thought Dr. Chen's idea was good. Others thought it was too dangerous. Finally, Big Bubble spoke. "Dr. Chen, your idea is brave and kind, but it's also very risky. Are you sure you want to do this?" Dr. Chen looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, a void stalker was coming. It was scary, but exciting too. "Yes," she said. "I'm sure. I want to learn about the void stalkers. Maybe I can even make friends with one." Everyone laughed nervously. Make friends with a void stalker? It seemed impossible. But Dr. Chen was serious. She started planning right away. She would need a special spaceship, lots of food, in case the void stalker was just hungry, and many cameras to record everything. As the sun came up, the Bubblites went back to their ship. They promised to return with more aliens to help Earth prepare for the void stalker. Dr. Chen waved goodbye, then went to pack her bags. She was going on the biggest adventure of her life. She was going to meet a void stalker. As she packed, she wondered, was she being brave or just crazy? Only time would tell. But one thing was sure, nothing would ever be the same again. Meeting a monster. Dr. Sarah Chen's heart was beating fast as her spaceship zoomed through the stars. She was on her way to meet a void stalker, the scariest monster in the galaxy. Was she brave or just crazy? She wasn't sure anymore. Her ship was small but special. The bub lights helped make it super quiet and hard to see. They hoped it would keep Dr. Chen safe from the Void Stalker's sharp eyes. After 3 days of flying, Dr. Chen's computer started beeping. It had found a Void Stalker. On the screen, she saw a big dark shape moving between the stars. "Wow," Dr. Chen whispered. "It's even bigger than I thought." She flew her ship closer, trying not to shake with fear. The Void Stalker looked like a giant wolf made of shadows. Its fur changed colors like a chameleon, blending with the space around it. Suddenly, the Void Stalker turned and looked right at Dr. Chen's ship. Its eyes glowed red like angry stars. Dr. Chen held her breath. Had it seen her? The Void Stalker opened its huge mouth, showing teeth as big as cars. It made a sound that shook Dr. Chen's whole ship. Was it roaring? Or was it crying? It sounds hurt, Dr. Chen thought. She looked closer and saw that the Void Stalker had a big cut on its side. Space rocks must have hit it. Without thinking, Dr. Chen flew her ship even closer. She wanted to help the hurt Void Stalker. But as she got near, the monster's huge paw swung at her ship. Wham! The ship spun around and around. Dr. Chen felt like she was in a washing machine. When the spinning stopped, she saw she was heading straight for a planet. Her ship crashed into a dark forest. Trees broke and dirt flew everywhere. When everything was quiet again, Dr. Chen checked herself. She was okay, but her ship was broken. "Oh no," she said. "How will I get home now?" Then she heard a sound that made her freeze. Theyump, theyump, theyump. Giant footsteps were coming closer. Dr. Chen peeked out of her ship. There, in the dark forest, were 2 glowing red eyes. The Void Stalker had followed her. She wanted to hide, but then she remembered the Void Stalker was hurt. "I have to be brave," she thought. Slowly, Dr. Chen stepped out of her ship. She held up her hands to show she had no weapons. "Hello," she said in a shaky voice. "I won't hurt you. I want to help." The Void Stalker growled, showing its huge teeth, but it didn't attack. It just watched her with its big, glowing eyes. Dr. Chen took a small step forward. The Void Stalker growled louder, but she didn't run away. "It's okay," she said softly. "You're hurt. Let me look at your cut." To her surprise, the Void Stalker sat down like a big dog. It was still growling, but softer now. Dr. Chen walked closer, her heart beating like a drum. When she was next to the Void Stalker, she saw how big it really was. Its paw was bigger than her whole body. But she wasn't scared anymore. She could see the pain in its eyes. Dr. Chen slowly reached out and touched the Void Stalker's fur. It was soft, like a cloud. The big monster made a low rumbling sound, almost like a purr. "You're not so scary after all, are you?" Dr. Chen said with a smile. "You're just a big space puppy." She looked at the cut on the Void Stalker's side. It was big, but not too deep. Dr. Chen took out her first aid kit and started cleaning the wound. As she worked, she talked softly to the Void Stalker. She told it about Earth, about the bub lights, and about how everyone was scared of Void Stalkers. The big monster listened quietly. Its red eyes watched her carefully. When Dr. Chen finished bandaging the cut, the Void Stalker did something amazing. It licked her face with its huge tongue. Dr. Chen laughed. Her face was all wet, but she didn't care. She had made friends with the scariest monster in the galaxy. As the sun started to rise on this strange planet, Dr. Chen sat next to her new friend. She didn't know how she would get home, or what would happen next. But one thing was sure. This was just the beginning of a big adventure. Making friends. The strange planet's 3 suns rose, painting the sky in weird colors. Dr. Sarah Chen woke up next to the huge Void Stalker. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. But the warm, soft fur under her hand was real. "Good morning, big guy," she said, patting the monster's side. The Void Stalker opened one big red eye and made a rumbling sound. Was that a good morning in Void Stalker language? Dr. Chen's tummy growled. She hadn't eaten since the crash. I need to find food, she thought. She stood up, and the Void Stalker did too. It towered over her like a furry skyscraper. I'm going to call you Shadow, Dr. Chen said, because you change colors like one. Shadow tilted its big head, looking curious. Dr. Chen laughed. Come on, Shadow. Let's explore this place. They walked through the weird forest. The trees had blue leaves, and the grass was purple. Everything was new and strange. Dr. Chen took pictures with her space phone, excited to show Earth all the cool stuff she saw. Suddenly, Shadow stopped. Its ears perked up, and it sniffed the air. Then, faster than Dr. Chen could blink, Shadow pounced into some bushes. There was a squeaking sound, then silence. Dr. Chen ran to look. Shadow came out, holding something in its mouth. It looked like a mix between a rabbit and a fish. Shadow dropped the creature at Dr. Chen's feet. Oh, Dr. Chen said, surprised. Is this for me? Shadow nudged the dead creature towards her with its nose. Dr. Chen realized Shadow was trying to feed her. Thank you, Shadow, she said, patting its leg. But I can't eat this raw. I need to cook it. Shadow watched curiously as Dr. Chen gathered sticks and made a fire. She cooked the strange animal and ate it. It tasted like chicken mixed with tuna. Weird, but not bad. After eating, Dr. Chen knew she had to fix her ship. But how? She didn't have any tools or spare parts. She walked back to her crashed ship, Shadow following like a giant puppy. Dr. Chen looked at the broken parts and sighed. This is going to be hard, she said. To her surprise, Shadow started digging in the ground near the ship. Soon, it pulled out a big piece of metal, part of the ship that had buried in the crash. Shadow, you're a genius, Dr. Chen shouted. She hugged Shadow's leg, the highest part she could reach. Shadow made a happy rumbling sound. For the next few days, Dr. Chen and Shadow worked together to fix the ship. Shadow would find buried parts or lift heavy things. Dr. Chen would put them back together. They made a great team. While they worked, Dr. Chen tried to teach Shadow some words. Ship, she would say, pointing at the spaceship. Shadow would make a low grrr sound. Was it trying to copy her? One day, while taking a break, Dr. Chen sat next to Shadow. She was thinking about Earth and how everyone was scared of Void Stalkers. You're not scary at all, she told Shadow. You're kind and smart. Why do you attack other aliens? Shadow's eyes looked sad. It made a soft whining noise and nuzzled Dr. Chen gently. She wished she could understand what it was trying to say. Then, Shadow did something amazing. It used its claw to draw in the dirt. Dr. Chen watched in awe as Shadow drew simple pictures. There were little stick figures, aliens, and big shapes that looked like Void Stalkers. In the picture, the aliens were attacking the Void Stalkers. Dr. Chen gasped. Is this what happened? She asked. Did aliens attack you first? Shadow nodded its big head. Dr. Chen felt sad and angry. No wonder the Void Stalkers were always fighting. They thought everyone was their enemy. Oh, Shadow, Dr. Chen said, hugging its furry neck. I'm so sorry that happened. But not all aliens are bad. I promise I'll help everyone understand you better. Shadow licked her face with its huge tongue, covering her in slobber. Dr. Chen laughed. She had not only made friends with a Void Stalker, but she had also learned their big secret. As the three suns set, turning the sky deep purple, Dr. Chen knew what she had to do. She had to tell everyone the truth about Void Stalkers. But would anyone believe her? She looked at Shadow, who was curled up next to the half-fixed ship. Don't worry, big guy, she said. I'll make sure everyone knows the real you. Tomorrow, they would finish fixing the ship, and then their biggest adventure would begin. Changing the whole galaxy's mind about Void Stalkers. Big secrets. Dr. Sarah Chen woke up excited. Today was the day. She and Shadow, her Void Stalker friend, had finally fixed the spaceship. They were ready to leave the strange planet and tell everyone the truth about Void Stalkers. "Ready to go, big guy?" Dr. Chen asked. Shadow made a happy rumbling sound and wagged its huge tail, knocking over a small tree. As they got ready to leave, Dr. Chen noticed something odd. Shadow kept looking at a big mountain in the distance. It would take a step towards the ship, then look back at the mountain. "What's wrong, Shadow?" Dr. Chen asked. "Is there something over there?" Shadow nodded its big head. It pointed with its nose towards the mountain, then looked at Dr. Chen with big, sad eyes. "Do you want to show me something?" Dr. Chen asked. Shadow nodded again. Dr. Chen thought for a moment. They needed to get back to Earth, but this seemed important. "Okay," she said. "Let's go check it out." Shadow looked happy. It bent down low, inviting Dr. Chen to climb on its back. Dr. Chen was surprised but excited. She climbed up and held onto Shadow's soft fur. Whoosh! Shadow took off running faster than any animal on Earth. The wind rushed past Dr. Chen's face as they zoomed through the forest. It was like riding the world's furriest roller coaster. They reached the mountain in no time. At the bottom was a big dark cave. Shadow stopped and let Dr. Chen climb down. Then it pointed at the cave with its paw. "You want me to go in there?" Dr. Chen asked. She felt a little scared, but Shadow nodded encouragingly. Dr. Chen took out her flashlight and stepped into the cave. Shadow followed, its big body barely fitting through the entrance. As they walked deeper, Dr. Chen saw something amazing. The walls were covered in glowing pictures. They looked like the ones Shadow had drawn in the dirt, but much bigger and more detailed. Dr. Chen gasped as she realized what they were. "Shadow," she whispered, "is this the history of the Void Stalkers?" Shadow made a soft sound, like it was saying yes. Dr. Chen looked closely at the pictures, trying to understand the story they told. The first pictures showed Void Stalkers living peacefully on a beautiful planet. They played with their babies and looked happy. But then, new shapes appeared in the pictures, spaceships. The next pictures were sad. They showed aliens attacking the Void Stalkers, destroying their homes. The Void Stalkers fought back, looking angry and scared. "Oh no," Dr. Chen said. "Is this why Void Stalkers attack other aliens? Because they attacked you first." Shadow whined softly and nuzzled Dr. Chen's hand. She patted its big head, feeling sad for what the Void Stalkers had been through. As they went deeper into the cave, the pictures changed. They showed Void Stalkers leaving their ruined home, traveling through space. Sometimes they found new homes, but aliens always chased them away. "You poor things," Dr. Chen said. "You've been running for so long. No wonder you're angry at everyone." The last picture made Dr. Chen gasp. It showed a Void Stalker making friends with a small figure. It looked just like her and Shadow. "Is this us?" she asked. Shadow nodded, its red eyes glowing softly in the dark cave. Dr. Chen felt tears in her eyes. She hugged Shadow's leg tight. "Thank you for showing me this," she said. "Now I understand everything." As they walked out of the cave, Dr. Chen's mind was racing. She had learned the biggest secret in the galaxy, the true story of the Void Stalkers. But what could she do with this information? Suddenly, she had an idea. "Shadow," she said excitedly, "what if we could show everyone these pictures? If they knew your story, maybe they wouldn't be scared of Void Stalkers anymore." Shadow tilted its head, looking curious. Dr. Chen explained her plan. They would take pictures of the cave paintings and show them to the leaders of Earth and other planets. Maybe they could even bring some alien leaders here to see for themselves. "We can stop this war," Dr. Chen said. "We can help everyone understand each other. What do you think?" Shadow's answer was to lick Dr. Chen's face with its huge tongue, covering her in happy Void Stalker slobber. Dr. Chen laughed, wiping her face. "I'll take that as a yes," she said, grinning. "Come on, big guy. We've got a galaxy to change." As they headed back to the ship, Dr. Chen felt excited and a little scared. She had discovered a huge secret, but sharing it wouldn't be easy. Some people might not believe her. Others might get angry. But when she looked at Shadow, walking beside her like a giant, loyal dog, she knew it was worth the risk. They had a chance to bring peace to the whole galaxy, and they would do it together, the human and the Void Stalker, the strangest friends in space. Big meeting. Dr. Sarah Chen's heart was racing as her spaceship approached Earth. Beside her, in a special big seat, sat Shadow, the friendly Void Stalker. They were about to change everything. As they got closer to Earth, Dr. Chen saw hundreds of spaceships floating around the planet. There were Earth ships, Bublite ships, and many others she didn't recognize. Everyone was here for the big meeting. "Ready, Shadow?" Dr. Chen asked. Shadow made a low, gentle sound. It was nervous too. Suddenly, a voice crackled over the radio. "Unknown ship, identify yourself." Dr. Chen took a deep breath. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen, returning from my mission. I have a guest with me." There was a long silence. Then, "Dr. Chen, you're alive." "And what do you mean, a guest?" "I'll explain everything," Dr. Chen said. "But we need to land first. And don't be scared, okay?" As their ship landed, Dr. Chen saw a crowd waiting. There were humans, Bublites, and other aliens. They all looked excited to see her, but when Shadow stepped out of the ship, everything changed. People screamed. Aliens ran away. Some soldiers pointed guns at Shadow. It was chaos. "Wait," Dr. Chen shouted, standing in front of Shadow. "Don't hurt him. He's my friend." Everyone froze, staring at Dr. Chen like she was crazy. How could she be friends with a Void Stalker? Just then, Big Bubble, the leader of the Bublites, floated forward. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice shaking. "Please explain. We thought you were dead." Dr. Chen smiled. "It's a long story," she said. "But first, everyone needs to calm down. Shadow won't hurt anyone. I promise." Slowly, people and aliens came closer. They watched in amazement as Shadow sat down like a big dog, looking around curiously. Dr. Chen told them everything. The crash, making friends with Shadow, and the big secret they discovered. She showed them pictures of the cave paintings. "The Void Stalkers aren't evil," she explained. "They're scared and hurt. Long ago, other aliens attacked them and destroyed their home. They've been running and fighting ever since." The crowd listened in stunned silence. Some looked sad, others looked guilty. "But now we have a chance to make things right," Dr. Chen said. "We can stop fighting and start talking. Shadow is proof that Void Stalkers can be friendly." Just then, something amazing happened. Shadow stood up and walked towards Big Bubble. Everyone held their breath, scared of what might happen. But Shadow just lowered its big head and gently nuzzled Big Bubble. It was like a giant cat asking for pets. Big Bubble was surprised, but then he laughed and patted Shadow's nose. "It's so soft," Big Bubble said, amazed. Other aliens came closer, wanting to touch Shadow too. Soon, Shadow was surrounded by curious aliens, all petting its color-changing fur. Dr. Chen smiled. This was even better than she hoped, but there was still more to do. "Everyone," she said loudly, "this is just the start. We need to tell all Void Stalkers that we want peace, and we need to help them find a new home." The leaders of Earth and other planets nodded. They started making plans right away. Some would go with Dr. Chen to meet more Void Stalkers. Others would look for a good planet where Void Stalkers could live. As everyone talked excitedly, Dr. Chen felt a tug on her sleeve. It was Tim, the boy who first saw the alien ships. "Dr. Chen," Tim said, his eyes wide, "can I pet Shadow too?" Dr. Chen smiled. "Of course," she said. She lifted Tim up so he could reach Shadow's back. Tim giggled as he felt the soft fur. When I grow up, Tim said, I want to be like you. I want to make friends with aliens. Dr. Chen laughed. Maybe you will, she said. The galaxy is full of surprises. As the day ended, Dr. Chen looked around. Humans and aliens were talking and laughing together. Shadow was playing with a group of kids, letting them ride on its back. It was like a big, happy space party. There was still a lot of work to do. Not everyone would be easy to convince. Some void stalkers might not want to be friends, but Dr. Chen knew they had made a good start. She looked up at the stars, twinkling in the night sky. Somewhere out there, more void stalkers were waiting. More adventures were coming. And Dr. Chen couldn't wait to see what happened next. Come on, Shadow, she called. We've got a galaxy to change. Shadow bounded over, tail wagging. Together, the human and the void stalker walked towards their next big adventure. The future was bright and full of new friends to make. Everyone's happy. 5 years had passed since Dr. Sarah Chen and Shadow, the friendly void stalker, first came to Earth. The galaxy had changed a lot since then. Today was a big day. The opening of Starlight City, the first place where humans, aliens, and void stalkers would all live together. Dr. Chen stood on a stage, looking out at the huge crowd. There were humans of all types, blue jellyfish-like bublites, and even a group of void stalkers sitting at the back. Shadow sat beside her, its fur shimmering with excitement. Welcome, everyone, Dr. Chen said into the microphone. Today, we make history. Starlight City is more than just a place to live. It's proof that anyone can be friends if they try to understand each other. The crowd cheered. Dr. Chen smiled and continued. 5 years ago, we were all scared of void stalkers. We thought they were monsters. But look at us now. She pointed to the group of void stalkers. They waved their big paws, and the crowd waved back. Some kids even ran up to pet them. It wasn't always easy, Dr. Chen said. We had a lot to learn, but every step was worth it. She thought back to all the adventures they'd had. Like the time they helped a group of void stalkers find a new home planet, or when Shadow learned to play baseball, they had to use a really big bat. Now, Dr. Chen said, I'd like to introduce someone special. Tim, can you come up here? A tall teenager walked onto the stage. It was Tim, the boy who first saw the alien ships years ago. He had grown up a lot. Tim had a dream to make friends with aliens. Dr. Chen said, now he's going to be Starlight City's first junior ambassador. The crowd clapped and cheered. Tim's face turned red, but he was smiling big. Thanks, Dr. Chen, Tim said. I just want to say, don't be afraid to make new friends. Even if they look different or come from far away, you might be surprised how much you have in common. After the speeches, it was time for the fun to begin. The city had a big party with food from all over the galaxy. There was Earth pizza, Bublite bubble tea. It was actually bubbly. And even special void stalker snacks. They looked scary, but tasted like chicken. Kids were having the most fun. Human children played tag with little bublites, who floated around like balloons. Some brave kids even rode on the backs of friendly void stalkers, squealing with joy as they zoomed around. Dr. Chen walked through the crowd, feeling happy. She saw humans teaching bublites how to dance. A group of void stalkers were trying to play soccer, accidentally popping the ball with their claws, but laughing about it. Suddenly, she felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Big Bubble, the bublite leader. Dr. Chen, he said, his voice bubbly with excitement. I never thought I'd see a day like this. You've changed the galaxy. Dr. Chen smiled. We all did it together, she said, by being brave and kind. As the day went on, more amazing things happened. A human band played music, and the void stalkers hummed along in their deep voices. It sounded beautiful. Bublite chefs taught humans how to make food that floated in the air. Everyone had fun trying to catch their flying lunches. Near the end of the day, Dr. Chen found Shadow sitting on a hill, watching the sunset. She sat down next to her big friend. "Happy, Shadow?" she asked. Shadow made a soft, happy sound and nuzzled her gently. Dr. Chen laughed and hugged Shadow's big, furry neck. "Me too, buddy," she said. "Me too." As the stars came out, the city lit up with beautiful, twinkling lights. Humans, aliens, and void stalkers all looked up at the sky together. Some pointed at the stars, probably thinking about all the new friends waiting to be made out there. Dr. Chen thought about how far they'd come. From being scared of each other to living together in one city. It wasn't always perfect. Sometimes there were mistakes or misunderstandings. But they always worked it out by talking and trying to understand each other. "Dr. Chen, Shadow," Tim called, running up to them. "Come on. We're going to have a big space movie night in the park. Everyone's invited." Dr. Chen stood up, smiling. "Sounds fun. Let's go, Shadow." As they walked to the park, Dr. Chen looked around at all the happy faces, human, alien, and void stalker. She thought about the scared little girl who once looked at the stars and wondered what was out there. Now she knew. What was out there was friendship, adventure, and a whole galaxy of possibilities. And the best part, the adventure was just beginning. "Ready for the next big thing, Shadow?" she asked. Shadow wagged its huge tail, almost knocking over a tree. That was definitely a yes. Laughing, Dr. Chen, Shadow, and Tim raced to the park, ready for whatever exciting thing the galaxy would bring next. In Starlight City, every day was a new adventure, and everyone was happy.